if you just go back to what we talked about with North Korea withdrawing from the non-proliferation treaty, it wasn't immediately after all the false accusations and America breaking our end, Bolton and Bush breaking our end of the agreed framework. It was right around the time of the invasion of Iraq. It seems to me that the decision-making leaders in North Korea decided that there's a lesson here. If you don't have nukes, they'll accuse you of having nukes and bomb you and invade you. And so the lesson here is we got to make some nukes, man.
Yeah,
and it
well,
worked.
or at least pretend to. I don't know.
It seems to have worked,
But in the case of North Korea, they did it. And if a backward technological country like that can do it, just think about what some other countries might decide to do. North Korea hadn't got anything. Their only cash crop, basically, has been missiles, which they've been selling around. They've upgraded or increased the range or something of the old Soviet, the Scuds missile, which were liquid fuel. The warhead wasn't even detachable. They were basically follow-on of the old V-2 rockets of the Germans during World War II. And so North Korea, in many respects, it's almost its sole source of income was to sell World War II type liquid fuel ballistic missiles, practically unguided, to Iran and Iraq and whoever else would buy them, Pakistan. And so now they've got a little more than that,
Well, and during the Gulf War, they made it out like the Scuds were the worst things in the world, and in fact, they used that as one of the talking points to lie us into war in 2003, was that they still have all these secret Scud missiles and a captured fighter pilot and all this other crap, none of which was true.
Yeah, it's not generally known, but in the Iran-Iraq war of the 80s, each side fired about more than 100 of those Scuds at each other. That is, the Iraqis fired more than 100 at Tehran, and the Iranians fired more than 100 of them. And it's just like the Blitz, World War II. The damn thing, it's got high explosive, no chemical or nuclear weapon warhead, and it makes a big hole in the ground where it hits, and that's about it.
Yeah. Now, we're over time and out of time and everything, but as long as I'm going to try to keep going here, let's keep going, because I want you to explain to me what you think about this whole AQ Kahn everything. I know that somewhere in there you think this is overblown, but what is the deal with the AQ Kahn network? Is it a CIA project? Is it something that they're trying to contain but can't anymore? Is it a big deal that we're supposed to be worried about and creates excuses for war everywhere it goes, or is it not, or what, Gordon? Please explain.
Okay, my view is as follows. George Tenet was trying to salvage something of his reputation just before he resigned, and he gave a speech at his alma mater wherein, and somehow or another we got transcripts of it, I've cited them in a couple of columns of mine, and he basically said, this is the worst thing that's happened, and if it hadn't been for me, by now you would have been nuked in your jammies.
Right.
Okay. This was like 2003 when he made this speech. Okay, in the year 2000, Jane's Defense Weekly reports attending a weapons bazaar in Islamabad, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, in Pakistan, where there was a booth for the AQ Kahn Laboratory. And you can go find online, you can see copies of this brochure that was being flaunted by the AQ Kahn Laboratory. It was for uranium enrichment centrifuges and all the associated equipment you would need in order to establish your own uranium enrichment program, like theirs, okay? These things were for sale, according to Jane's Defense Weekly. And they went up there and said, you can buy all this stuff? And they said, sure. Everything on here has been approved for export by the Pakistani government, okay? Now, a lot of these things were actually not manufactured, were not to be manufactured in Pakistan itself, but there was this supplier network, okay? Now, that's the thing that Tenet is demonized as the Kahn nuclear weapons smuggling network or something like that. But as I say in a couple of columns, boy, that is really a hidden secret smuggling operation where they've got a booth at an arms bazaar and they've got these guys hawking these brochures with all of this equipment that you need. And here's Tenet out there going around and claiming that, boy, we infiltrated this network and great risk to some of our people, their lives and all this kind of stuff. And now we've put an end to it. It's laughable.
Well, it's slam dunk Tenet,
It's not as if this is a fairy tale. So my take on all this is that Kahn, who did not confess to supplying Iran and Libya and North Korea with anything, he did not confess to that. Never, never, never. Or at least he didn't do it on television, which is what everybody says he did. And the lead-in says he confessed to transferring nuclear technology to Iran and Libya and North Korea. And then you read what he says. There's the whole speech. He never mentions Iran or Libya or North Korea. Never mentions them. And you kind of wonder, well, what part of the English language are these reporters having trouble with? Because his speech was given in English. You can get it on YouTube. You can find it. But anyway, I don't want to be in the business defending these people. Kahn clearly did things that were illegal. He essentially stole designs from Urenco. He worked for a country that was subcontracting to Urenco, which is the world's largest uranium enrichment private sector entity. But Kahn himself says, well, the most important thing that he took were the supplier lists in various countries, including Germany and other countries like that, Holland. And so it may be against their export laws, say the German export laws, for some of these things to be exported. But that's not Kahn's fault.
Okay, well, I guess to help flesh out a little further what all this means, what about the role of Valerie Plame and Brewster Jennings and the CIA's outed former front company for monitoring this kind of thing and the importance of that? I know that you've written about that in the past. How does that play into the relative importance or non-importance or danger of this network?
Well, all I know is what I've actually seen and heard her say. And basically what she says is that she felt that there was this sinister network in play and that it was her job to find out exactly who was doing what to whom. And one of the principal things that she managed to do was to intercept these aluminum tubes that were supposedly destined for Iraq. I don't know about the ones supposedly destined for North Korea. And was frustrated. That's her own word, frustrating, because she couldn't find any evidence to support this Tenet scenario,
Right. It's just like, well, we got to bomb Iran, but we're not sure if we know where all their different various secret nuclear weapon sites that we know they must have are. And it's because there aren't any.